What is up, everybody? It's your boy DFS Up North, and we are here for the Scottish Open. I've got all you need to know about the Renaissance Club, my favorite plays, and if you stick around to the end, I'll even tell you who I like for the Barbasol. Let's go! Again, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another DFS Army PGA Forethoughts podcast, where I give you my top PGA picks and everything you need to know about the upcoming event. Before we get there, how about last week, the John Deere Classic? JT posted wire to wire. Big win for him. Good week for us too. We had Stallings as a core play. Our guys did pretty well. We had some nice wins out there for our DFS Army subscribers. If you want to become a DFS Army subscriber, you can use that code Up North, scrolling across the bottom of your screen for 10% off VIP membership. Let me get this up here. We are at I'm excited. We have a couple of weeks here where we are, we've got the Scottish Open this week and then the Open Championship the week after this. And these are both obviously big events, right? And the Scottish Open is even a bigger event this year because it is a co-sanctioned event. So what does that mean? That means that the DP World Tour is providing half of the entrance and the PGA Tour is providing half the entrance. We are getting way more PGA Tour guys across the pond here this week to play in the Scottish Open. This is always a fun event the week before the Open Championship. Guys can still qualify for the Open Championship by placing well here or by winning. And it's I like this new joint venture between the PGA and the DP World Tour. I hope that we see more of this, and I think we will because of all the LIV golf stuff coming up. And speaking of the LIV golf stuff, I'm filming this Tuesday afternoon. It just broke that the DP World Tour players who are members of the DP World Tour that are on the LIV Tour, their suspension was stayed pending an appeal with the DP World Tour. So those guys were actually allowed back into this tournament. So we see Brendan Gracie and Poulter, Bernd Wiestberger, Matthew Southgate, who I haven't seen play an LIV event yet, but apparently is maybe signing. I don't know. But they are now in this event. So interesting. The only guy of that group that Grace obviously played really, really well last week. He's fine. I'm interested to see where DK Price is at. But I am interested in Bernd Wiestberger, even though he's been pretty terrible. He should be cheap. He's got great history here, former winner of this event at the Renaissance Club. So he is interesting. A couple weeks ago, we had another 100K winner. We've had multiple big winners in other sports. I've seen MLB crushing lately. Again, if you want to come join us at the DFS Army, I don't know what you're waiting for, what's going on. Come join us. These guys win. Look at this ROI. This guy played $35, made 1,000. Right? Unreal. Big shout out to actually go back here. Johnson, J2, has been just absolutely smashing. 4-man showdown, 3-man showdown, winner take alls. Just really building his bankroll, which is awesome. Obviously he's got 100K here, but he said he was going to buy a car, so that probably went out the window right away. But the guy's been grinding and smashing showdowns. And we talked about everybody, playing these 3-man winner take alls or 4-man winner take alls where you're only really competing against 2 or 3 other people. Guys are like, oh man, he won 3,000, but he had to enter 800 or 600 or whatever it was on these showdown lineups. And people talk about, I wish I had that money, but it's all relative, right? So it doesn't matter what you're playing. So I typically, if I'm on showdown on the weekend, my main lineup, I will play in a couple of winner take alls, things like that. And there's a lot of times that my main lineup won't cash in the big GPP, but will hit my winner take alls and and if it doesn't hit my winner take alls, it almost always hits my double ups, and that covers it. So on Sunday, I made a $10 profit on one of these lineups, right? I had $40 entered in winner take alls, double ups, whatever. I made 50. So that lineup didn't even come close to cashing in the GPP, yet I still made a profit, right? So it doesn't have to, these contests are out there for you guys, and it's $3, $5, $10, $2, whatever you want to do. You just got to keep scrolling. Get away from that big number, and it's about building your bankroll up so that you can take some shots like this guy did, winning 100K, right? So beyond the strategy portion of that, let's talk about this week, the Scottish Open. We're at the Renaissance Club. It's a par 71, 72.93. That stimp meter should not be on there. These will not run at 12. Anything, you got to remember, guys, when we go overseas, that in Europe, especially on these link style courses, they don't really take care of the greens. All right. You're not looking at bent grass, things like that. It is fescue that is just mowed down, right? You can see in the picture here, it's really hard to tell a lot of times between the rough and not necessarily the rough, but the fairway and the green, because it's typically the same surface. It's cut to the same length about, and then the greens are just typically rolled. So it's hard to tell like how fast they're going to run, but typically we see them like 8 or 9 over here. It's really hard to get these greens to run any faster than that. This is linksy to a point. And what that means is that it is not a traditional links setting like we will see for St. Andrews next week. Okay. St. Andrews is very, very flat, or even, Muirfield, which is right next door to this. This course will have much more undulation than your typical links style course, right? Links, there's undulation, but it's very flat. It's hard to tell one hole to the other. There's no real breaks. You're going to be able to see that here. You're going to be able to see breaks. There's woods, there's trees, there's things like that so it's linksy to a point, especially some of the added holes near the water. Very, very pretty. It's linksy in the sense that we have big pot bunkers. You're going to get some roll up. You're going to have to hit, kind of these low, weird kind of shots around the greens. But it's not your St. Andrews, Sandwich, typical link style course. All right. You need to be good off the tee here. And if the wind picks up, right now, it's not looking like that. Wednesday right now looks like the worst day of the week, and possibly on the weekend. But if that wind picks up, you're going to have to be very, very good around the green. What we've seen here over the last couple of years, so this course has held the event for 3 years now in a row, minus the year that we canceled for COVID. What we've seen at this course is that if the wind isn't picking up, we're going to see guys pretty standard in that 70 or 80% greens regulations. They're not very small greens, but if that wind picks up, that number drops to 70, 60. And that's where we see you have to be really, really good around the green. So in the 3 years that we've played here, we've had Bernd win, and then we had Aaron Rai win, and then we had Minwoo Lee win. Bernd and Minwoo's years were, and we'll see that here in a second, were fairly easy conditions. Okay. Fairways here are fairly wide. You don't have a hard time there. If the wind isn't blowing or it's not raining, things like that, it's going to be it's going to be a bit of a birdie fest. When Rye played here in 2019, I believe was the year, we had very, very tough conditions all week. And what we see in the statistics, so we go to the next page here. Oh, we'll come back to weather. We can see that scrambling was really important for Aaron Rye. All right. He hit 77% of greens, which was 4th in the field. Right. And then look at Wiestberger. 81 was 23rd. Okay. So the wind picks up. You got to play more of this type of game. If it's easy, everybody's going to be hitting greens, and it's going to come down to who, unfortunately, it really comes down to who can putt the best and who can hit it tight enough, right? So greens and regulation is obviously on a big green. You're not really telling the whole story, right? Stroke gain approach, things like that are going to be obviously a bit more important on these weeks. Right now, like we said, we look at the weather here. It's fairly benign. Thursday looks like the best day to score. Friday, we're going to see some wind. Again, here, I will say this. When in English, weather is different than what we deal with here in the States. So if I saw this right now and we were playing in Kentucky, so if this was for the Barbasol and this was our wind forecast, I would say, you know what? It looks like there's going to be a little bit of a wind advantage for the afternoon on Friday. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's because it's an island in the ocean and whatever, but I can almost guarantee that this is going to flip by the time that we get to Friday, where the wind is going to be in the morning and then it's going to be calm in the afternoon. It's weird how that works, but it's like you can't trust a forecast to save your life over here. And I always say, we talk about playing a wave advantage. One of my favorite things to do is my favorite GPP strategies, especially if it looks like there's going to be a big wave advantage. With this right now, I'm like, these guys playing in the afternoon on Thursday, they get the morning, that's not as bad. Or if this like really picks up in the afternoon, right? I want to play that opposite. I want to play the morning afternoon in case it flips, because those guys get zero ownership and the weather here changes so quickly. And maybe Derry's watching, one of our DFS Army VIPs who lives Not in Scotland, across the way over there in Northern Ireland, but similar sort of conditions that, the wind can change on a dime, right? That you just don't, especially this far out. I mean, it's not that far out for American standards, but 3 days, it could be completely different here. So right now doesn't look too bad for the weather, right? We'll talk a little bit more about the course. So again, we get a really strong field this week. All right. How do you want to build? Okay. So for me, looking at ownership, looking at the kind of the ways that things are set up here, I want to very much play stars and scrubs lineups this week. And the reason being is that everybody's going to go balanced. All right. And I think that we're going to see ownership concentrate, especially on guys that are familiar. All right. And by familiar, I mean typically PGA Tour guys. So we get half the field as the DP World Tour here. And I think sometimes those guys get slept on, right? That they're just not as good of players. So I've got my cheat sheet done for DFS Army VIPs, and you can see there's some guys in there that I really like this week. They're not core plays, but they're guys that are on the DP World Tour that maybe you and I have never heard of that I think are really good options. And playing like two guys here up above 10K or up at the top of the range can really force you into playing some of these lower owned guys who can play, right? We're going to see somebody here this week like Minwoo Lee out of nowhere winning last year in a strong field. We had Zalatoris, we had Scheffler. Everybody was here last year too because they were getting ready for this to be a co-sanctioned event, and Minwoo Lee comes out on top. I think that can happen again here. So that's going to be my strategy this week, is lots and lots of, that four, or like the two top guys, mid-tier, a dud, and then somebody else, right? And by dud, I mean just a sub 7K guy. So these are the four guys that I'm going to build a lot of my lineups around, except for Cash, right? Cash, I'm going to play that balance build because that's what everybody's going to do. So like Will Zalatoris, Cash lock. Aaron Rise in here, he's a Cash lock for me too because he's way too cheap considering his history here, former winner, how well he's playing right now, things like that. So my core plays this week, JT, back-to-back top 10s here. People might be concerned that WD from the RBC Canadian Open, or was it the Travelers that he withdrew from, back injury. He's playing the JP McManus Pro-Am this week. He's fine. He didn't want to play 5 weeks in a row. Pulled out, said he had a back injury. JT's fine. All right. Back-to-back top 10s at this course, in pretty different conditions. He was top 10 the year that Aaron Rai won and last year. So JT, I think, is just an elite ball striker. His game suits over here. I think that he's a definite threat next week at the Open Championship to take home another major this year. I just really, really like the way he's playing right now. The price tag is right. I'm all in. Along with that is my boy Xander, who did just win the JP McManus that just wrapped up here a few minutes ago. Xander is playing well right now, obviously. So now technically, including the exhibition, 2 wins in a row here for Xander. Great. He's just a sneaky good links player. The price is right. I think he's a cash option. Like him, I mean, you can't go wrong, right? And building that JT Xander at the top lets you take some chances down below. One of those guys that I really want to take a chance on is Lucas Hebert. The Australian is playing some decent golf right now. He's got back-to-back 5th place finishes here, or top 5 finishes here, 4th both years. And 7,600 is way too cheap. So Hebert is a guy that I'm going to be well over the field on. And then we go to Aaron Rai. Core play for me quite a bit recently as he's come over to the PGA Tour. The guy's just got a ton of game. Strikes the ball well, drives the ball well, good short game. He checks so many boxes for me. And so, I'm coming into the week, we didn't have pricing. I was assuming we were going to see Rye at 79, 8-1. And looking at the field, I'm like, that's where he belongs, right? That's where he belongs. And honestly, the odds, the Vegas odds tell us that too. So 7,400 is way too cheap. He might get high owned, but he will be in 50% of my lineups. That's how confident I am in Aaron Rye this week. So again, that Sergeant Scrubs lineup, that's what I'm going with this week. I like taking some shots on some of those cheap guys. If you want to know who those cheap guys are, you got to become a DFS Army VIP. You can use that code UpNorth for 10% off. Now, we get an alternate field event this week. A strong, half the DP World Tour is coming over to Kentucky, baby. Welcome to the United States. Let's go. We are playing the Barbasol Championship. And I'm filming this Tuesday afternoon. We just had pricing come up. So these are my initial first look core plays. Just building some lineups this week for the Barbasol. Where I want to go to begin with is, I think, two of the strongest plays on the board, Adam Spence and Taylor Pendrick. Spence's been outstanding. Pendrick was a core play for me last week and withdrew. Tough break. He had dealt with a rib injury. Everybody's like, oh, he withdrew because he was hurt. No. Guy popped a positive COVID test on Thursday morning. So unfortunate for him, but is apparently feeling better. Didn't have really any symptoms. Keep an eye on it. But I think that Pendrick, with his length, is a really good play here at the Barbasol. And Svensson, just with his ball striking ability, the ability to putt, like, he can score. We know this is going to be a birdie fest. We looked at who, Seamus Power and JT Poston were in a playoff here last year. Poston won last week. I think it's similar to the John Deere. So all the guys that check the boxes for me there also check the boxes for me here. So I like starting kind of with these top tier guys, because I think, again, at the Barbasol this week with the pricing, everybody's going to go middle. Everybody's going to go middle. Now, I'm not paying up for Chris Goddard. I think he's a good player. I'm not paying up for Kevin Streelman. He's a good player. I want to start here with Svensson and Pendrick. All right. Then I'm going to drop down. I'm going to give you guys a guy that has been playing well on the European Tour, kind of a resurgent player. Was good, really good 10, 15 years ago. But Espen Kofstad, Norwegian guy, can hit the ball. He's got a really solid overall game. I think at 7,200, played really, really well at the Irish Open last week. Hoping to ride a little bit of form. And then a guy that, it's taken him some time, but again, if you follow kind of the showdown notes or my cheat sheet notes, he's making it every single week because he just makes cuts, and that's Sung Yul No. He did in 2018 to 2020. He had his mandatory Korean military service, and now has sort of fought his way back onto the tour, and just like, he hits greens, makes putts, makes cuts. 6,800, way too cheap in this field, because there's some real duds here. All right. And then I will have, so for this week, if you're not a DFS Army VIP, what I'll have for our DFS Army VIPs is my top 10 plays, my favorite GPP plays for the week. These guys will all be included in there. So you get 4 of the 10. I got 6 more coming, maybe a few more. We'll see. But the contests don't look great for the Barbasol. I'm not super excited about it, but hey, like I said last week with the LIV Tour stuff, we got a chance to make money. We're gonna make money, baby. Let's go. And LIV Tour, I crushed it last week. Showdown, I cashed every single round. Was awesome. So I'm excited for the next LIV Golf Tour event. We get throw old WD Paul Casey in there, see what happens when he WDs for the Saudis. So that's what I got for you guys. I'll have tiers, showdown, 4-day, all that stuff available for our DFS Army VIPs. Use that code UpNorth. If you guys could do me a huge favor, give me a like, give me a love, give me a follow. All that stuff goes a long ways. And again, I'm waiting. 1,000 views. We get to 1,000 views. Everybody that likes the video gets a chance to win 20, 25, 50. I don't even know what I said. $25 cash, straight cash. Help me cash app. I'll write you a check in the mail. I'll send you cash in the mail. I don't care. Coming your way. All right. So again, give this a like, give this a subscribe. Appreciate all of you. What up, DFS Army fam? Cheers. Good luck this week at the Scottish Open and Barbasol Championship. Cheers, guys.